The plan, once again, from 1897 was to turn Palestine into a Jewish-only space. If you want to turn Palestine into a Jewish-only space, like how are you going to go about it logistically? You have all European powers that have been claiming other people's land for themselves through Africa, Asia, South America, North America, and so on. So you have a lot of examples of how people from Europe would take over somebody else's homeland. Those ways can be reduced to three examples. Example number one, if you go claim somebody else's land, what do you do with the people who live there? They become an obstacle, they become a problem that needs to be fixed. How were indigenous people fixed by European powers? Any idea? The first option was elimination, murder. Nearly 80% of the population of New Zealand, the Maori population, was exterminated. 97% of the population of Brazil was exterminated. 98% of the population of North America was exterminated. So the first way is complete genocide and extermination of indigenous people. The second way, the British were masters of that, is exploitation, where you look at human beings as human resources and you exploit them in order to extract natural resources. So you use an Indian person in India in order to create Indian tea, and then you sell it as English tea, right? Exploitation of human resources and natural resources together. The third way, it's less common, it's forced population transfer. You go into a territory, you don't want the people who live there, or they are not useful for you, so what do? You expel them. Like what happened in the northern frontier of India, where 1 million people were murdered in order to push Muslims north towards Bangladesh and Pakistan and push Hindus south from their homes and towns in Pakistan and Bangladesh. That's the most bloody example. We have examples of that in Finland, we have examples of that in Cyprus, and in different places where people are removed from the territory simply because they were born to the wrong kind of people. So the third way is ethnic cleansing. When the board of the Jewish Agency that was established also after 1897, when they convened to see how to deal with Palestinians, they all agreed that Palestinians are a problem. The very existence of Palestinians in Palestine have always been viewed as a problem. Up until today, the Israeli government views the presence of Palestinians in Palestine to be a problem. They use an interesting term. They call us a demographic threat. How were the Palestinians resolved in the hands of Jewish nationals in Palestine? Any idea? There are traces of genocide, there are traces of apartheid, but the main process is a process of forced population transfer. Since 1919, when the British took over the land of Palestine directly, up until today, there is barely a month that passed on the land of Palestine without witnessing the removal or forced displacement of a Palestinian individual, Palestinian family, Palestinian village, city, or town. There's rarely any time in our history that displacement was not being carried out on Palestinians. Under the British rule over a period of 29 years, there was nearly 125,000 Palestinians that were removed. This area of Palestine, the Jerzeel Valley, had up to 64 Palestinian communities. It was the most fertile piece of land on Palestine. All the residents of those communities were displaced by the British, and that was the first establishment of Jewish-only settlements we had on the land of Palestine in early 20th century. Under British rule, 29 years, the British wanted to establish Jewish homeland in Palestine. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of the British government decided back in 1917, Arthur Balfour, he decided that the government of His Majesty will work on facilitating the establishment of a Jewish homeland on the land of Palestine. How would they do that? With imported Jewish nationalists to implement this project. So during that period, 29 years, 120,000 Palestinians were expelled. Now, between December 1947 and October 1929, these were 20 months, 70,000 militants carried out what they call Plan D, or Plan Dalit. Plan Dalit is a military plan that aims at the depopulation of the Palestinian people from Palestine, or from as much of Palestine as possible. 85% of the Palestinian population that lives within the white area of the map were displaced from 531 Palestinian communities. That's within a period of 20 months. 15% remained, but those 15% remained within cages and ghettos that are determined in green on this map. This map is taken off the website of the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It has a mistake in it. The State of Israel knows data on Palestine almost on every inch. They share what they like, they hide what they like. So here they say no data is not because nobody lives in the gray territories. They just don't want to share the information. But within those gray areas, we still have how many people? 6 million people that are controlled by the State of Israel. 5 million of them are Palestinian. 5.5 million are Palestinian. The rest are Jewish Israelis, if you hear of settlers, right? But all of them live within this territory. So anyway, what the State of Israel did after October 1949 was to make sure that none of those 750,000 Palestinians would ever be allowed back. Because the point is removal, not to allow you back. Like if we allow you back, it's a waste of resources. Because the point is removing you and preventing you from ever coming back to your family property. Any Palestinian who would dare to go back to the land that the Israelis have forced them out of, they will be executed, they will be expelled, they would be arrested. You will face one of those three things. So the idea that Israel removes you and you do nothing is stupid. Israel removes you, you try to go back until Israel kills you. And then people will continue to go back to their family property. That's how it happened in 1947, 48, 49. You can look at pictures from that period of time, compare it to the pictures you get from Gaza today. It's the same like kind of destruction, flattening homes, blowing out people in residential areas. Israel up until today, since the beginning of the ceasefire in Gaza, did not spend a day without blowing up a house. They go on blowing up residential areas and like making sure that people, if they come back, they will find nothing to come back for. In 1967, the State of Israel completed its control over Palestine. Within 6 days, they occupied a territory from Jordan, Egypt, as well as Sinai Peninsula, and the Golan Heights from Syria. And of course, if you look at the 6 Days War, it's a very interesting thing. It's a war that was carried out by the State of Israel. The State of Israel attacked its neighboring countries and then blamed those countries for the war. The Israelis call that a preemptive strike. What's a preemptive strike? It's like when I kill you and then I claim that you were planning to kill me. It's actually every crime is a preemptive strike. So the State of Israel managed to occupy those territories and blame the people on the receiving end of bombs for being the reason for that war. 400,000 Palestinians were removed within those 6 days. And from 1967, the State of Israel completely controls every inch of the land of Palestine, with every Palestinian remains on it. Today, the State of Israel has 9 policies. If any of those policies were implemented, the result is a Palestinian individual, family, village, city, or town would be evacuated and displaced. State violence is only one of those 9 policies. But there are 9 policies carried out by the State of Israel, and those policies are to maintain the process of the ongoing displacement of the Palestinian people. So when we speak about Nakba, Nakba is something that happened and continues to happen until today. Because Nakba is a man-made catastrophe. And that man is an Israeli man who brought upon Palestinians those catastrophes for no other reason but because Palestinians exist in Palestine. So the issue is not like Palestinians behaving well or not behaving well. It's not an issue of our behavior. It's an issue of like our very existence is viewed as a problem for Israeli criminals. And what they do, they fix that problem. How do they fix those problems? Genocide is one of those solutions. It's a final solution, right? Believe it or not, Palestinians are surviving a second genocide in less than 80 years. Because the first genocide resulted in the murder of nearly 15,000 Palestinians over 20 months. That was less than 5% of the Palestinian population. Today is also less than 5% of the Palestinian population is being eliminated during this genocide. If you want to establish Jewish homeland in the land of Palestine, you view the Palestinians to be a problem. Indigenous people are a problem. So how do you fix that problem? Be as criminal as you want. If you want to establish Jewish homeland in Palestine, land becomes important because you are after establishing a nation state, you need land. right? It's very interesting to see that the State of Israel operates a regime that centralizes the land as the most important element of their project. It's a land project. It's our land. It's the land of Israel. The Israeli army is about passing laws that result in Palestinian families being robbed of their property. The State of Israel passes civil laws that enable the state to rob Palestinian families of their property. Israeli private sector works also on that. Even God in the State of Israel is about land. Zionism is the ideology of the State of Israel, which is the Israeli form of Jewish nationalism. Zionism is an ideology that is a secular ideology. It was inspired by nation states in Europe, like nationalistic ideologies, and it's a social nationalist ideology, which means that you can be socialist only towards Jewish people. That was tried in Germany. You can be socialist only towards Aryan people, right? And it worked very well in Germany, it works very well in Israel. So Jewish nationalism is an ideology that does not believe in God. Zionism is a secular ideology, it's not a religious ideology. It removes religious practices from Judaism and looks at Judaism as a genetic marker, which is a very racist way of looking at people, right? Because to be Jewish, according to Jewish values, you have to do certain practices, right? The same way Muslims, to be a Muslim, you have to do certain practices. It's not I don't believe in God, but I'm a Muslim. That doesn't make sense. But for Israelis, I don't believe in God, but I'm Jewish. It's okay. Zionists are a bunch of people who do not believe in God, but nevertheless believe God gave them the land of Palestine. The only reason we bring God into the picture is because we can abuse God to justify robbing Palestinian families of their land and property. Palestinians are 15 million people on the planet. We're a very diverse population, diverse in terms of different accents that we speak. My accent and Yafa's accent are very different. We have different skin colors, we have different religions, we have Samaritan faith, Jewish faith, Christian. We have, only in Bethlehem we had 18 different Christian denominations, and we have Muslim Sunni faith. So we are a very diverse kind of population, yet we have one thing in common. The only thing you find in common between all Palestinians on the planet is that we were born to families that were robbed partially or completely of their inheritance, property, and land by the State of Israel. So if you want to establish Jewish homeland in the land of Palestine, first you remove the Palestinians, second you steal their land, and then third you need human resources. You need your own identified group of people. The State of Israel is a so-called Jewish state, right? So you might think that the first meeting those people would have is let's have a definition for who's Jewish and who's not. So-called Jewish state does not have a definition for who's Jewish and who's not. Why? Because they have to be selective. What if you end up with a Jewish person who believes in the 10 Commandments? Worship the one God, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal. That's the wrong kind of a Jew, because it would be very easy for those Jewish people to recognize that we murder Palestinians, especially Muslims who believe in one God. We steal their shit and we kill them, right? So we violate the top 3 Jewish commandments in our relation to Palestinians. What if you are a Jewish person who believes in this Talmudic verse? He who rescues one life is as virtuous if he rescues the whole world, and he who destroys one human life is as evil as if he destroyed the whole world. Well, if you believe in that, then you are a wrong kind of a Jewish person. The only Jewish people that the State of Israel imports in Palestine are Jewish people who are tolerant to Israeli criminal behavior towards Palestinians, supportive of Israeli criminal behavior towards Palestinians, or willing to take advantage of it. But a Jewish person who would use their Jewish identity to stand against Israeli criminal behavior is all of a sudden the wrong kind of a Jewish person. So the Jewish state does not have a definition for who's Jewish and who's not. It's not because they are flexible, it's because they want to be selective. It's wrong to say that the State of Israel allows anybody who's born to a Jewish family to come and live permanently in Palestine. It's wrong. You being born to a Jewish family does not guarantee your access to Palestine or your permanent residency in Palestine. You have to be the correct kind of a Jewish person, right? In apartheid South Africa, if you are a white person who's willing to benefit from apartheid, then you are welcome. But if you are a white person who believes in ridiculous things like human rights, everyone is born free and equal, then you are the wrong white person for South Africa. If you are a Jewish person who believes everyone is born free and equal, then you are the wrong Jewish person for the State of Israel. So if you want to establish Jewish homeland on the land of Palestine, you have to eliminate the Palestinian people, you have to rob Palestinian people of their land, and then you have to keep importing the correct kind of Jewish people to live in Palestine as supporters, defenders, and beneficiaries of Israeli criminal behavior. When we are talking about Nakba, Nakba describes this entire process that has been going on for more than 100 years. And what you guys are doing is like witnessing the most recent day of nearly 100 years of colonization of Palestine and elimination of the Palestinian people. Make sense? Now, if you are born to a Jewish family, you are a beneficiary of that process. If you are born to a Palestinian family, you are a victim of that process. It doesn't matter what you think about it. Your opinion doesn't matter. Your attitude doesn't matter. You can be a Palestinian who would serve Israeli criminals, who would be part of the Israeli army or whatever, and still you are born to a family that was robbed of their land. And you serving the state of Israel does not guarantee your access to equality or your access to your family's land or so on. If you want to serve criminals, that's fine. Also, as a Jewish person, you can be a Jewish person who stands completely against Israeli criminal behavior. That doesn't mean you will stop benefiting. So it's not a matter of, once again, behavior or opinion or action as individual or as a collective, being Palestinian or Jewish Israelis. Make sense? So it's all a matter of birth. You are born to a Palestinian family, you are subject to that criminal process. You are born to a Jewish family, you are a beneficiary of that process. Okay? Is it complicated? I can make it more complicated. To make things even more complicated, on the land of Palestine, on 27,009 square kilometers, the state of Israel does not apply one set of rules. Like in Malaysia, you have one constitution, one set of rules. That's the same rule with almost every nation state on the planet. One country, one constitution, right? In Palestine, the Israeli government is in control of every inch of the land of Palestine, but they don't subject us to one constitution. Israel does not have a constitution. You know why? Because why to have one constitution when you can have five? There is one constitution or one set of rules that are applicable on whoever is born to a Jewish family, and then the other four are applicable on you as a Palestinian. So a Palestinian who's born in Nazareth is not mistreated the same way as a Palestinian born in Jerusalem. So a Palestinian born in Nazareth is called Israeli Arab. There are 65 laws that maintain a primitive status for Israeli Arabs compared to Jewish Israelis. And then we have Palestinians in Jerusalem. They are not even people with nationality. They are stateless. They are residents of a city. The Israelis call Palestinians in Jerusalem permanent residents of Jerusalem. That's their status. And then there are jurisdictions, military and civil laws carried out by the municipality of Jerusalem that work on evacuating those Palestinians from Jerusalem. The same thing, the same process. Removal of Palestinians, robbery of their property, and replacing them with preferred Israeli settlers. And then the third example is like what you find happening in Gaza, where Palestinians are treated as residents of hostile entities, so you can commit genocide against them. And then the third is like the residents of the occupied West Bank, 3.5 million Palestinians who are subject to nearly 1,665 military orders. That's the Israeli military rule that is in control of the lives of 3.5 million Palestinians in the West Bank. Each one of those four systems has comprehensive procedures. You can read through it just the way you would analyze or study a constitution of a certain country. But the outcome of all those four systems, all those four different procedures, is always a Palestinian being removed, their land being robbed, and they are being replaced by a special kind of a person. Okay? Those four systems, the state of Israel creates a situation where there is domination of those who are born to Jewish families over those who are born to Palestinian families. So the state of Israel not only commits the crime of forced population transfer, which is a crime against humanity, the crime of genocide, the crime against humanity, but also the crime of apartheid. And the crime of apartheid is the third and final crime against humanity. So the state of Israel commits in its mistreatment of Palestinians or solving the Palestinian issue, the state of Israel finds itself having to commit the only three crimes against humanity that are agreed upon by every nation state on this planet. Okay? Many people say like Israel does not have an apartheid regime, which is 100% correct. because Israel does not have one apartheid regime, they have 4 operating regimes. They can maintain those 4 regimes easily because Israel controls every inch of the land of Palestine, so prevent us from having access to one another. So yes, I was born in Bethlehem. Jerusalem is 10 minutes up the road from me, and I've not been allowed access to Jerusalem. Why? Because the Israelis decide that Palestinians who are born in the occupied West Bank are not allowed freedom of access to Jerusalem, even though Jerusalem is in the West Bank. I have not been allowed to Gaza. Why? Because the State of Israel decides that Palestinian residents of the West Bank and Palestinian residents of Gaza are not allowed freedom of access towards one another. By controlling the land, the State of Israel can install more than 989 military checkpoints only on the land of the West Bank. So they control every inch of the land. This is how they keep us separated from each other. And then the second important thing is during apartheid in South Africa, your identity card was your skin color. An indigenous South African and a European South African would go to the same, let's say, military checkpoint. The police officer will know who he will treat with superior status and who to treat with a primitive status. For us, Palestinians and Jewish Israelis, we look alike. You don't know who is who. We're very, very different, which means we are very, very alike. But yet, if 4 Palestinians are in one vehicle, one is from Jerusalem, one is from Bethlehem, one from Nazareth, one from Gaza, and we hit an Israeli military checkpoint, the Israeli soldier will know which one of the rules will be applicable in each and every one of us. How would the soldier know? They have a sophisticated identification system. Yes, they control birth registrations. The day I was born, I had to have an ID number, a birth certificate. So that has to end up in the office of an Israeli soldier who will decide that my ID number is printed the day my birth certificate is printed. And I will be mistreated based on a category of those Palestinians. So let's say if I ended up in Jerusalem, I will not be mistreated the same way as Palestinians in Jerusalem. I'll be mistreated as Palestinians from the West Bank located in Jerusalem, right? So from the day I was born, the State of Israel decided how to mistreat me and each and every Palestinian that was born in the land of Palestine. There are so many Palestinians who are not born in the land of Palestine who are not even allowed access to Palestine. So that's nearly half of us who are not subject to Israeli criminal behavior in Palestine. We are only subject to Israeli criminal behavior by denying us access to Palestine. While the remaining 7 million or 7.5 million Palestinians, they are subject to one of those 4 systems. If you keep looking at those 4 systems, you will get yourself confused, because all the coverage, all the media, all the politics, all the academia is doing is distracting you from what's actually happening on the ground. And what's happening on the ground is very, very, very simple. If you are born to a Palestinian family, you are subject to oppression, elimination, removal, denial of your freedoms from the day you are born until the day you die. If you are born to a Jewish family, your privileges are granted and protected. It has nothing to do with your behavior, it has to do with birth. Pretty much like if you are born male, you have male privilege, right? You didn't ask for it, well, don't be an asshole because of it. But yeah, I'll stop here. If you guys have any questions,